Hello and welcome back to the JENEsys Edge product line video series. My name is Charles Johnson, lead trainer and technical engineer at Lynxspring. Today we're going to be talking about Niagara network integration. Now, one of the purposes of a Niagara network is to model data originating from other Niagara stations. Proxy points under a Niagara station represent data received from other stations. Connections between stations function as client-server using the FOX protocol. The FOX protocol is also used for workbench to station communications. So let's go ahead and get into how we're going to bring our Edge 534 into our supervisor. So I have both connections open right now. I have my air handler that we've been working on, and I have an Edge supervisor. This Edge supervisor will also be used in the Edge VAV product line series, where we're going to be doing the Onyx rapid integration, but I'm going to be bringing in the air handler today and then eventually tying everything together. So the first thing that the first thing I've already done ahead of time is in the user service, I've created a user called M2M. And M2M stands for machine to machine. And I want a unique user to put in each edge controller and supervisor. That way, that's the only user that's talking to the network. I'd rather not use the admin user for this. And what I mean by the user that is just as admin. You have to be an admin, make sure that this role is checked at both the supervisor and the edge controller level or the edge station level. If not, you will not be able to discover any controllers. So I'm going to go ahead and start in the I'm going to go ahead and start here in my edge controller. And I'm going to go and tunnel down to my drivers container. And I'm going to go to my Niagara network and I'm just going to double click it. And when you double click it, the default property of any network is going to be some kind of manager, whether it's a station manager, device manager, some kind of manager is going to happen. And now, because I have put everything in my firewall to be discoverable, I'm going to go ahead and select Discover. Now, sometimes, given whatever networks you have, you may not be able to automatically discover certain stations, again, because of firewall settings. So you need to make sure that you can manually enter them as well. That discovery process may not always happen. And so I'm going to go ahead and sort everything by the station name, which is easiest for us to find. And I'm going to go ahead and look for my Edge supervisor here. I'm going to go ahead and select it here. I'm going to keep the name the same. However, with the credential store, I'm going to go ahead and give my M2M and my password that I've created. And again, you can create whatever kind of user you want, as long as is the same user across both stations. It actually doesn't have to be, but it's just preferred to do so. And it's always going to fail the very first time. And if I ping this, I'm going to get a certificate error. And in this case here, it's org.bouncycastle.tls. When you see this here, you know this means that the certificate has not been approved. Because this is a secure connection and it works with certificates, they need to be approved in order for a station to communicate to another station. To approve the certificate, we're going to go ahead and expand our services container, go to our platform services, and double click on Cert Manager Service. Now, under the Allowed Host tab, we're going to go ahead and click Approve. Go ahead and collapse that again. Go back to your Niagara network. and right-click the supervisor and go to Actions and Ping. And you'll see the health change to OK, which tells me now I can actually receive uh, values, or I can receive points from the Edge supervisor. However, I need to make sure that I do the same thing here in my supervisor. And I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to Drivers, my Niagara network. Now I already have something in here, but I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. But now I've got my air handler controller here. Well, as of right now, it doesn't look like a regular Niagara station. That's because this is actually considered an edge station. Now, an edge station is licensed differently than a regular, like a regular Jace. This is actually licensed for, I believe it's 100 points. It might be slightly higher, but I think it's 100 points or lower. And as long as that happens, this can count as 1/10 of a Niagara connection. So if you have 10 of these, it would actually equal one Niagara network connection. So I'm going to go ahead and double click this. I'm going to go ahead and enable this. And now I'm going to type in my username and password that I have here. And it's going to fail, and it should give us the same error that we have, this bouncy castle. And again, go to the platform services of your supervisor, cert manager service, allowed hosts, and approve this certificate. Go back to your Niagara network, right click on the controller, Actions Ping, and now it is brought in as a device. And now we have two-way communication. Now, a couple extra things I'd like to do here while I have the supervisor open. The first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and make sure that my alarms are going to start to get passed from the edge controller to the supervisor. So the first thing I'm going to do in my edge controller, I'm going to go ahead and go to services and click on alarm service. And I already created a test alarm here. This is going to be a test for a couple different things. One, it's going to help us make sure that our alarms are being received. There. Number two, in a later video, I'm going to be using this same test alarm to set up a test for emails. But I'm going to go ahead and open up my alarm palette. And under recipients, I'm going to bring in a station recipient. Remember, the console recipients are recipients that only look at the station itself. The station recipient allows me to route alarms to another station. And I'm going to just name this alarms to supervisor. And I'm going to go ahead and take the default alarm class to route alarms. I'm going to take the high priority alarms, and I'm going to take the test alarms to the supervisor. Ooh, let's try that one more time. Okay, now I'm going to double click on my station recipient, and I'm going to select my edge supervisor and click save. Now I'm going to go back to my supervisor, and I'm going to go into my alarm service, and now I'm going to check my console recipient. So the first thing I see is that we have this Niagara network AHU 101, and I'll go ahead and click acknowledge here now. So now I'm going to go ahead and attempt to send a test alarm and see if it actually comes through to this console. And not only did the test alarm console come in, the rest of my alarms came in from my Niagara network as well. So it actually just took just a little bit of time to get that all going. However, the new alarm has been sent. So I'm just going to go ahead and acknowledge all of these. Some of these are going to go away. Some of these won't go away because they're still off normal or in fault. And that's um, strictly because that we have some devices that are not tied in. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do here is I already have a bunch of histories that I would like to get to my supervisor. Now, I can either export to or import from, sorry. And it's really going to depend upon your bandwidth and how much you want to send, how much you want one device to send or to and from. However, I'm going to do everything from the edge controller side here. I'm going to go ahead now and go back to my drivers, expand my Niagara network, and expand this edge supervisor. And now I have histories here, and I'm going to right click on my histories container, and I'm going to go to Niagara History Export Manager. Remember, whatever you are either going to import from the supervisor if you're at the supervisor, and if you're at the controller level, you're going to export to the supervisor. So I'm going to go ahead now and click Discover in my export manager that I have here. I'm going to go ahead and expand the controller, and I'm going to grab everything except for the audit log and security history, and I'm going to select Add. So if I had hundreds or even thousands of trends, and I wanted to export them to a supervisor, well, I don't really want to send them all at once. I'd rather send them at specific times of days at specific randomization points. So I'm going to do every day at 2 a.m. in 5-minute intervals. So it's going to randomize them and send them every 5 minutes in a random order or in a random time. I apologize. So now I'm going to select OK for them all. Let me just make sure that I have 5 minutes set for them all and select OK. Now, currently they have not been pushed to the supervisor. So I'm going to go ahead and multi-select them, and I'm going to select Archive. And now it has pushed all my histories to the supervisor. I can now go to my supervisor station, and I can go to my history space, and now I can see all my histories that I have here. If I click on the chart, you're going to see everything's at 0 right now. Econ damper is also at 0. Fan speed. And of course, that's just because I don't have anything live, even though the controller is live. I don't have anything wired up to it, so there are no live values. Now, normally I would have a schedule in the supervisor, and I would send that down to the air handler. However, there are certain things that I'm going to be doing a little bit later on for the complete integration of the VAVs and this air handler. But also to show you here, I can actually click Discover, or I'm sorry, go to my Niagara network, expand to see my controller here, and then I can click on Points. And now I can discover the points that are actually in my controller itself, and I can bring them in as well. So these are now actually proxy points because they're going to be representing something that's outside of the station. Remember, a proxy point is a representative of some object that is not in your station. So whether it's another controller, in this case here, it's actually the Edge 534. So I can just go ahead and bring all these in here if I want to. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. I don't need to bring the PID loops in, but I think everything else is fine here. Econ damper command. Actually, don't want that. Don't need those either. Network settings, economizer. Just double checking a couple extra things here. Solid points there I don't need. And now I'll do current state and two ghosts. Select OK. Now these will go ahead and subscribe, and once they subscribe, they will go OK. However, this creates all the proxy points that this is how we bring in proxy points for the device. And that is all I have today for the Niagara network integration. Have a good one.